In the Lakota world, when you're talking about a skunk, um, you know, people don't associate with, ooh, that stinks. Get out of here. Yeah, let's get out of here. That stinks. Ooh, and then everybody runs away. I mean, maybe Pine Ridge people do that, but ooh, I I think that's a Oglala word, yeah. I'm looking in my Itazipco dictionary. It doesn't say that, so that must be just the Oglala word. Spoken by men, yeah. That's a man's word in among the Oglala people. You see, humor is really important here. Shit, a Pine Ridge Indian would fire right back. Yeah, they might say, "Well, you Cheyenne River guys, you guys say ee." Hey. that the teasing goes back like that. That's humor, and really it is this way. I mean, you look at some of the terms among our people. They really have funny names, and they have funny stories behind them. This shows you that that the mentality is not so um, you know serious. Yeah, like like the Rosebud people, the Rosebud Sioux Reservation and the Lower Brule Sioux Reservation. They both come from the same group of Lakota people, and they're called Sicangu Lakota people. And Sicangu um, is it means burnt thigh, yeah. And um, let me see here. How do I explain this in the most humorous way as possible? See, chung is the outer thigh, yeah? It's the thigh, the outer thigh. That's si chung. Ru is to burn something. When something is burnt, it's ru, yeah? So, si chung ru is a burnt thigh. Why would a people be called that, yeah? why, why would a fierce warrior society be called burnt thigh? Well, there's a funny story behind that. There's several stories that are behind that. The story that I heard from my dad, who heard it from his grandfather, was because they're Sicangu Lakota people, yeah, and I come from there. That's where my father's from, so a part of me is from there. Um, See, long time ago, in the Great Plains of North America, there in the Indians all had this agreement, different tribes, and long time ago, all the tribes they all spoke different languages, but they communicated to each other using a system that everybody knew, and that was sign language. We have a Indian sign language that is really complex. You can tell the whole story using just in sign language. And I've seen it in film, in really old film. I've seen it. How they, people who were survivors from the 1800s, they were filmed demonstrating using this sign language. And I think you might be able to find it on YouTube. And there's a lot of things on YouTube, so you might be able to find it there too. And maybe I'll find it and try to post it to my Facebook page. Yeah, that's really interesting. And That's how they communicated to each other. Yeah, the people who were traditional enemies, when there's times of peace, they use this system. Every group has a person who knows the sign language really good, and that's how they communicate to each other. See what I said earlier? You find something that both people know, that you express to express your point to the other person so that they understand you. There has to be some common ground. Today it's English language, but back then it was the sign language, yeah, among Indian people. So that's how they communicated the idea that the Great Plains has to be burned at least once every 10 years. So this is a peacetime. So all the tribes, wherever there's grassland, wild wheat growing, that has to be burned once, at least every 10 years. So that's what they did. So in all their homelands, they would do that. And now today's scientists, they understand that this is necessary, because what it's doing is it's the burnt grass. What it's doing is it's putting nitrogen into the ground so that things can grow. So this is the reason why they did that. So the buffalo people may live, so that we may live, so that the rabbit nations may live. All the food chain, so that we all may live. This is the reason why they did that. Okay, do you learn something? Yeah, that's in Lakota Star knowledge. Not many people know about that today, because of the reservation time period when we couldn't leave the reservation, and let me try to say this in a few minutes. Normally I take about 15 minutes to say this, but let me see if I can do it really, really quick here. I'm going to time myself. Try to do it in a few minutes just to say the important parts. Okay, I'm going to time myself. Okay, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, we were placed on reservations, and during that time we could not leave. It was like a prison. And all our weapons were taken from us, and since we couldn't leave and had no weapons, we couldn't hunt for the foods that our bodies were used to, which is wild game, wild vegetables, wild fruits. Yeah. So all we had to eat was whatever the government gave to us, and that came far and few between. So we were starving, but whenever we got food, it was really unhealthy food. It's really pork-based and dried goods, canned goods that really had unhealthy things in them. And it resulted in us getting diabetes, high blood pressure, heart diseases, and of course today, obesity. And so we were hit physically. Now remember, the self has four parts: the physical body, the mind, the emotions, and the soul. So we were hit physically. Okay. Then in April 10th, 1883, there was a law that the United States put out that said all Indian languages and ceremonies are now illegal. Imagine that. And the United States was supposed to be formed because of freedom of religion and freedom of expression and freedom of speech. But they took that away from Indians. Yeah. So on one hand they're saying something, but to Indians they say no, you can't do that. So now we were hit emotionally and spiritually. So 3 of the 4 parts now are hit. The last part remaining is the mind. So because those 3 parts were hit, our minds became weak. And then the government made a law that split up the reservation into small parcels of land and put a log cabin on each parcel and gave each parcel to one family until there was no more land to give out. And then after that, they just put Indians in small towns. But mostly the Indians were spread apart from each other. They did this to break down the community way of thinking that Indian people had. So they didn't see each other anymore. They only, they rarely saw each other. Then the churches came to the reservation, and the priests took advantage of the Indian people's weak-mindedness, and they learned the Indian ways, and then they said, the Indian ways conflict with the Bible, so that means they come from the devil. In our weak minds, we began to accept that. Plus, church gave Indian people a once-a-week opportunity to see one another. So people wanted to go to church so they could see their relatives. And as they were in church, they started to slowly accept what these priests were saying because of their weak-mindedness. And then the priests started using this Lakota's concepts of warrior societies and women's societies. They started using that in the church groups to encourage Indians to become even stronger in their Christian transformations, quicker in their transformations. It's brainwashing. They deprive them of things that your body needs so that they can control you. This is what terrorists do. This is what cults do. This is what religions do. You don't even have to be extremist. A basic religion does that. You don't eat this, don't drink that. Yeah, and it's to control you. So once they can control you not eating this or drinking that, then they can control you in other things by depriving you. That's what they did to Indian people. So as a result, since the priests were saying Lakota star knowledge comes from the devil because it conflicts with the Bible, here it is 100 years later, over 100 years, and this is the reason why most Indians cannot speak their language, and they do not know their ancient stories. They don't know the ancient knowledge anymore. And what little they do know is Christian influenced. Because there are some things that the Christian priest took that resembled Christianity, and they transformed it more to fit Christianity. Like the word Unshimala. Today, most Indians think that means have pity on me. No, it doesn't. In the Lakota ancient world, it means it's an invitation for someone to receive blessings. It's based on that natural law of generosity called Wawokie, where whatever you do, whether it's good or bad, whatever it is, that's going to come back to you 4 times as strong. In this Ushimala, what you're doing is first of all, you need help in something. Yeah? And then you ask somebody. It's something you can't do yourself. So you ask somebody who can do it to help you. Yeah? When you ask them, you can give them like a tobacco or something, especially if it's a special thing that's called opashi. You ask them, can you help me? And if they help you, see, they're doing a healthy communication in helping you, which is going to return to them 4 times as strong. That's a blessing. So you get your help, and they got blessings stronger. That's a beautiful concept. That's what Unshimala really means. But the priests changed that to have pity on me. I'm a worthless Indian. I was born into sin. So therefore, God, have mercy upon my worthless, pitiful soul. Have pity on me. That's what they changed Unshimala to mean. They used our language against us. And it worked. So today, most Lakota people think that Unshimala means have pity on me. And it doesn't. You see? That's what I mean. Today, whatever traditional knowledge people have today, mostly it is Christian influence. It has a Christian tainting to it. That means it's lost its beautiful energy. It's lost its power. Now it's meant to put the self down. You see what I mean now? That's what happened. And so this is the reason why today most Lakota people, most Indians anywhere don't really know the full versions of their stories. They don't know the complete versions. That's why I said today nobody knows. I mean, not many people know what happened in the Great Plains of this burning, this great burning. Yeah. Now, how long did that take here? How long did that? What did I do? This is 34. What's that? 8 minutes? Almost got it to 5. Gosh. Okay. That explanation usually takes me about 15 minutes, and that's okay. All right. Let's continue on here. Okay. This is the reason why most people don't know that in North America, the entire middle part of the plains, the flat land, that part was burned, so that the wild wheat will always grow, so that buffalo may have food, so that we may have food, yeah, so that the people may live. So and of course today scientists they know that when you do that, that's putting nitrogen into the ground to keep the ground fertile, to do this, to grow things. So how did the Indians know that? Through visions. A lot of Indians back then, and some of us still today, still receive these kind of visions where we receive knowledge of what to do. But we have to be living the way that I explained about an hour ago. Yeah, being in contact with your sacred center and seeing people as humans and not skin colors, and communicating in a healthy way, learning from difficulties and making the best of them so that they transform into blessings. Living in that way, people open themselves up to this kind of knowledge to come to them through dreams and visions. So this is how they knew to do that. Yeah? And here they called us uncivilized. They call this knowledge from the devil. It's kind of crazy. So, anyway, the Sicangu Lakota people, they got this idea to burn their territory. They were going to go in two groups, yeah, and they were going to burn inwards, to meet each other, yeah, and that way, nobody gets hurt, yeah, that by accident. I mean, they were going to go on two different sides and then come towards each other, burning that land, yeah, and so that's how they were going to do it. And here somebody took a wrong turn. And so as they were doing that, they ended up bumping into each other, but then they were surrounded by the fire. Somebody made them. Somebody didn't know their directions. Yeah, somebody got confused, and so they ended up being inside of a circle. Yeah, with fire going all around them. And they were like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" They said, "What do you mean? We're supposed to be here." "No, we're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be over there." I said, "No, you are." Oh shit. So all they could do was run through the fire. Otherwise they're going to get burnt. Yeah? That's all they could do was run through the fire. And so they hauled ass. Yeah? They ran through it as fast as they could. And they ended up with burnt eyes. Because somebody didn't know their directions. Yes, this is a funny story. Yeah? But this is where it comes from. And this is the name of a very mighty warrior tribe. They have a funny name. Do you see what I mean? How humor is so important. And so this is, when people hear the name Sicangu, it makes people pay attention, because these are the star knowledge keepers. This Sicangu Lakota people were the people who kept the Lakota star knowledge. See, my dad's from there. That's how come I know these things. Yeah? So they really have this highly scientific knowledge, but they have a funny name for themselves. Another one, Itazipco. Some people say Itazipco. Yeah, this means um, uh, they don't have any bows. The story comes from. This is a kind of a long story, so I'm just gonna abbreviate the story. Okay, the story comes from this one time period among this group of Lakota people. For some reason, they were really a bunch of bad hunters. Yeah, so we were just about ready to become the first vegetarian nation. Almost, yeah. The stories are really comical, yeah. And it's one story says, yeah, this one guy shot his arrow and here it was going like in a circle. It made the deer dizzy, so it fell down, and the the deer was watching this arrow, and its head was going around trying to follow this arrow, and here it got dizzy. The stories are just really comical about this group, yeah. Well, I'll just tell the end. I'll go right to the end of the story. The end of the story is they ended up with the most sacred item among all Lakota people, and that's the white buffalo calf pipe. So this tribe, Itazipco Lakota group, becomes known for their wisdom. That's where my mother's from. So I come from both these groups. Because Itazipco Lakota people received the white buffalo calf pipe, this really is a special honor to that group. You see what I mean? So they have a funny name, but look at what they are. Do you see what I mean? Another one, among the Dakota group, the D speakers, these are people who use the letter D where we use the letter L. So if we say Lila, they say Dida. Yeah? That group of people, there's four of them, I think. There's four main groups of Dakota people. And one of them is called Sicangu. And these guys were fishermen. They're really good at it. Yeah, and they're known for that. And patience and all these things they're really known for. And here Sicangu means they smell like fish, yeah. So when they have the meetings and they say, people will joke and they'll say, gee, those Sicangu people, I think they're coming now. It's to tease, see? This is one way to extend friendship to others, is by teasing. You tease people that you like. Yeah? So this is how that's one of our concepts. So humor is really huge in our world. But you don't see that among the young people today. Even among people who are my age, they're getting way too serious. Yeah, that if you don't have humor in your life, you're overlooking something. You're not seeing reality completely. Yeah, you're not getting the full gist of it. In the traditional world, there's a lot of humor, and it's humor that makes you feel warm. It's not the humor that makes fun of others. I share with you the other kind of humor, the dark kind, that a lot of these activist thinking modern Indians have. Somebody once said that there was these two Indian guys, they were sitting outside, and this joke was supposed to come during the 1960s. And President Kennedy was the president. And somebody said, yeah, I heard the white man was going to go to the moon. See, already it's got a racist tone by using that word, white man. And then the other guy said, "Hey, they want to take put some messages in the container in case there's people up there in different languages." They came to our chief and they asked him, "What message do you want to put in there?" So the other guy said, "What did he say?" He said, "Be careful of these white men. They're gonna take your land and put you on a reservation." And now, a typical Lakota traditional kind of joke would be like this. There's this Standing Rock guy and this Cheyenne River guy. They were sitting outside drinking their Diet Cokes because their doctor told them your blood sugar is too high. See, if you want to drink Coke, it has to be diet. So they're sitting outside in the junk car, and nighttime, summer night. They're looking out and they say, "Yeah, I heard the Pine Ridge people were going to send up a rocket. They want to go to the sun." So the Cheyenne River guy says, "Hey, not even." And how are they going to do that? They get close to the sun, they're going to melt. So the Standing Rock guy said, "Yeah, well, Pine Ridge tribal chairman said they're going to go at night." That's a traditional joke. Shoot. One time, there's a lot of teasing that goes back between Rosebud and Pine Ridge, because the reservations are right next to each other. One's on the east, the other's on the west, and they're connected to each other. Boy, there's a lot of things get really interesting between the two tribes. Here, one time, the Pine Ridge Indians were complaining about hey, a white man stole our land. They poisoned our water, and now we we can't even have plumbing or anything like that because the water's bad. So the American president came to Pine Ridge. And all these Pine Ridge guys were complaining, you, Mr. President, you poison our water, and we can't even drink running water, and we can't even flush our toilets. We don't know, it's really no good. So the president said, "Okay, I'm making a proclamation right now." He said, "We're going to give you Pine Ridge Sioux Nation. We're going to give you 1,000 septic tanks." So then the Pine Ridge tribal government, they had a secret meeting. They said, "Hey, did you hear that? We're going to get 1,000 septic tanks." So here the vice president said, "All right, now we can finally declare war on the Rosebud people." Hey. See, that's traditional humor, yeah, to tease like that. See, because this really it's kind of teasing how a lot of Lakota people can't speak English too good. Older people. This joke comes from the 1960s, and back then there were a lot of Lakota people who really couldn't speak English too good, and so when if you hear the word septic tanks, they don't understand septic, and they know tank from the John Wayne movies, yeah, the World War II, Vietnam movies, and where the military tanks. So when they said septic tank, they thought that was a special military vehicle, yeah. Shoot. That's a joke that's meant to tease, yeah. They fire back and forth, and they're like, Pine Ridge people might say, "What do you call a really good-looking woman on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation?" And the other guy will say, "I don't know. What do you call her? What's she called?" And the Pine Ridge guy will say, "A lost tourist." Hey. Shoot. The things really get rugged like that, Jeff. But see, they're not. It's not racist. Yeah, it's because see, there's a lot of these jokes come because of in-law. Yeah, because see, Pine Ridge and Rosebud are very close to each other. So the people who live on the eastern side of the Pine Ridge Reservation a lot of times marry into the Rosebud people who are on the western side. So you have a little group there that's kind of both. Yeah, people who are like from Wamblee, they're closely connected to people who are like, where would that be? Parmalee and from the west side of Rosebud Reservation. They're really close. Yeah, they marry in the two different groups marry into each other, and in the Lakota world, when you're married, you enter into a joking relationship with with your brothers and sisters in laws and your cousins in law too. You enter into a joking relationship automatically. Yeah, so you tease each other, and so that's where the Pine Ridge, Rosebud, Cheyenne River, Standing Rock. These are the names of the reservations today. Because they're close to each other. Like Standing Rock and Cheyenne River, we're just north and south of each other, and so there's marriages that happen between people who are on the North Cheyenne River side and the southern Standing Rock reservation and part. I mean, and there's people because it's close. Yeah, you just drive down the road and you're on the next reservation. So there's a lot of snagging happens there, and the next thing you know, you got in-laws from up there and in-laws from down there, and that's where the teasing happens. Yeah, concerning it's in-law based, and it really can get silly. Yeah, that's what's missing. That's what's being lost among our people is those kind of traditions. Yeah, the joking traditions. That's sad, yeah, to see that's becoming no more. That people were becoming more Western dualistic style thinking, and our communication is starting to reflect that. And so you look on Facebook and you look at a lot of Indian websites, and you're going to see a lot of racist posts. And this is, for me, this is sad to see because it's we're going further away again from from the way of our ancestors. We're seeing each other as separate because we're different skin color or we think different. And some people are saying, "Oh, you can't trust people with French last names." And I saw that remark on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh my goodness." One of the best Lakota language teachers I ever knew had a French last name. That doesn't mean anything. Just remember what I said. It's what's inside of you. It's not French. It's not Lakota. It's human. And just sharing some random thoughts with you and giving you an idea of what things used to be like, what they're like now. And what I experienced in my lifetime, I'm glad I was born at the time that I was, so I could witness this in-law joking and also even be a part of it. It's really fun to do that kind of thing. Yeah? And I really feel sad for the next generation because most of them, they don't do it. They know it, they've seen it, but they're not doing it. I've seen that for myself. Yeah, that's so sad. A beautiful tradition involving humor. And humor is leaving the people. That really is sad. Yeah, that really is sad. So important to have humor in your life. So go in the closet and tickle yourself, yeah? Keep it alive for yourself. Go in the closet and tickle yourself silly.